Hey dudes, it's Larold. I'm doing a super short intro in this video. It's already over. Join our Discord in the description and say hi to me in Sunset. Alright, let me hit you with some enticing numbers right off the bat. With this strategy, we are consistently making over 100,000 Thaumaturgic Dust per map in maps that take 3 to 4 minutes to clear. This means we're looking at roughly 1.5 to 2 million Thaumaturgic Dust per hour pretty easily. I don't want to say that this is trivially easy, you need a decently strong build, but we're not even having to do tier 17s, right? The maps are simple. You just kill, kill, kill in tier 16 maps. If you want to do Corrupted 8 mod maps, which is what I've been doing, I would recommend it. You also get some pretty good Scarab drops and potentially some good diff card drops if you're on a good map. I've gotten a lot of fortunate cards while running Mesa. So if we're talking about currency per hour generation in Path of Exile 1, divines per hour, there is nothing close to shipping crops in King's March. Even if you don't like King's March, you're burned out because Settlers League lasted for whatever, 10, 15 years long, it's still very profitable for very low effort. You're leaving money on the table if you don't do it. Now back in Settlers League, the meta was eventually determined to be 17 million value shipments sent to Nakanu. I have a Reddit post here that exemplifies this, and boy, it's got dozens of pixels, but right, it's this. 315k wheat, 315k corn, 8505 Thaumaturgic Dust. This was the standard meta, ship it in Nakanu every 3 or 4 days, and then ideally, hopefully, you would get back a shipment that looked like this, 2 mirror shards, handful of divines, good bit of return. It worked really well during that league. I did it a whole bunch. I made a lot of mirror shards, which felt pretty cool. The odds seem to have changed in Merc League, and I don't actually have a clear answer yet on what the odds are. I'm still just sending 17 million shipments this exact same way, and just kind of hoping it'll work out. Dog and his team of math geniuses are hard at work. The Prohibited Library guys, if you want to go help them solve this, I can only recommend it. Go to their Discord. We'll see what they have to say. With that being said, people on Reddit are trying a lot of different shipment values. Some are having success with 1 or 2 million value shipments. Some are sticking with 17 million and having success, like this guy who had the 2 mirror shards. Some, like myself, are sticking with 17 million shipments and not having success. That's okay. I figure my next one will certainly give me 3 mirror shards to make up for the last several. In any case, mirror shards are worth 33 divines right now, so that's somewhere in the range of 35 to 100 divines per successful shipment. Even on the shipments that I've had that didn't send back mirror shards, I still made 5 to 6 divines of profit for relatively little effort. I still feel pretty good about it. There's just one small problem with all of this: ROG. Generating Thaumaturgic Dust with ROG is slow and it costs a mountain of gold. He's eating it all. And that is where the rest of this video comes in. We are eliminating the need for ROG. So what are we doing? We're hunting min. Rogue Exile farming is a great change of pace after several days of killing screens full of monsters thanks to Beyond and the Evolution Scarab. It's a lot easier on your graphics card too. So what we're doing really here is we're taking advantage of 2 overlapping mechanics. Refiner's Bargain that makes, basically gives all of the equipment items with rarity that are dropped by a possessed monster a 5% chance to be converted into Thaumaturgic Dust. The phrasing on this is a little weird, it sort of reads like it's a 5% chance when you kill the monster to convert everything. It's very clearly a 5% chance for each item that drops. So what we're doing is we're combining Refiner's Bargain with Exiled Will, which gives all of the Rogue Exiles a 100% chance to be possessed. This means if you put 40 Rogue Exiles into your map, you're going to have 40 monsters that are able to trigger Refiner's Bargain, as well as another 5 thanks to Seance. And that's exactly what we're doing here. So just to go through the Scarabs, I have played around with a lot of different things and come up with what I think is the most cost-effective, time-effective, lowest difficulty option for dealing with possessed exiles. And that is to run 1 Anarchy Scarab of Partnership. This will give you a 50% chance for all of your exiles to appear in pairs. Appear in pairs just means they have a friend. So if you have a 100% chance for all of the exiles to appear in pairs, then you would have double exiles. You can't actually get to 100, but with some passives in the tree, you can get up to 80%, so 80% more guys. And then I'm just throwing 4 regular Anarchy Scarabs in there, so this is if we're just going off of these Scarab numbers, this is 16 exiles, 16 times 1.5 would be 24. So just from the Scarabs, I'm getting 24 exiles in the map. And then also I'm running Anarchy in the map device, so that's another 7 exiles. So, again, 16 plus 7 times 1.5 would be like 35 exiles on average in your map. Then we're able to add some more through the tree. We get, what do we get? I think 25% chance down here from each of these points to get an extra exile, so that's 1 more. And then I'm not taking Rogue Trader, that's notable down here, that gives you a chance for your exiles to have extra rewards. I compared having this and not having this, and I didn't feel like they really dropped anything extra in terms of Thaumaturgic Dust. Instead, they seem to drop more like League mechanic drops, like they might drop, I don't know, Harbinger Shards or like that kind of thing, Legion Incubators. So with this also having the downside of 100% more life on the exiles, that is a massive difficulty scaler because rogue exiles are fairly dangerous. So just cutting this out really reduced the difficulty. So I would highly recommend, if you have any concerns about difficulty at all, or really honestly, if you're not able to just like instantly delete all Ubers, I would not run Rogue Trader. I think it is a horrible node for the amount of payoff that you get. But then all the rest of these nodes are pretty good. Royal Guard just gives you a 20% chance to get 2 exiles. These guys cannot be duplicated by these little small passives, the Appear in Pairs or the Scarab of Partnership, the Buddy Scarab. So these are just like a 20% chance of 2 extra guys, fine. But then all the rest of this, you're guaranteeing 1 extra exile along with the, what did I say, 23 that we're guaranteeing through Scarabs and the map device, so 24 guaranteed. And then we get 3 small passives that give 10% chance for our rogue exiles to appear in pairs. So 24 times 1.8. We're getting like 43 rogue exiles in an average map. But then we have an 8% chance, thanks to Ruckus, to get 20 extra exiles, and 20 times 0.08 is only like 1.6 extra exiles. But still, the point is that we can get anywhere from like 40 to, I don't know, 70 exiles in a map. It's a lot of guys. So I didn't count any Ruckus procs, and any of my like average time is 3 to 4 minutes, and average amount of Thaumaturgic Dust is like 110,000. I didn't count any maps where I had that happen, but obviously, if that does happen, that's going to be a really juicy, delicious map. Now, in terms of the rest of the stuff that we're taking in the passive tree, I'll just mention, like, I'm taking all the Scarab nodes. I really like Significant Troves. And then, other than that, I'm just taking, like, Quantity, the Rarity node in the middle, all the map mod effect. I'm taking everything that involves map mod effect to make the rogue exiles be more rewarding and juicy. I kind of have a point left over, so I threw it into Chittering Champions, which I think is terrible. It's a 1 in 4 chance to get 1 Scarab out of the map boss. Like, that's bad. But then I looked around at other options, like Rampant Growth, 10% more Ichor. That's not good either. I never really found anything I was super thrilled with as a spot to put that point. I do still like taking Trapping Carapaces and Explorative Carapaces to get Ambush Scarabs and Cartography Scarabs. I just think they're very valuable. I just sold off all my Cartography Scarabs of Risk just before recording here, and I farmed all of these up just in the last couple of days here, doing like just these last 2 strategies, Beyond and Domination, and then this one. And I made, like 2,500 Chaos worth of Risk Scarabs just in the span of like 2 days. So feel pretty good about that as a node that is worth taking in pretty much any strategy, I think. Now, there is a lot of other stuff you could do with Refiner's Bargain. You could take Nico nodes, get a bunch of Sulfite, like get guaranteed Sulfite in every map and get a bunch of ore. Kind of just seems like a gold sink to get a bunch of ore. I'm not thrilled about that. You could also do Life Force related stuff, actually spec into Harvest and spend a bunch of time doing that. But both of those will slow you down and eat away at your ability to do more Rogue Exiles at a given time. And, in each map, you're not going to be able to have 40 to 80 exiles in every map if you're also trying to do Life Force farming at the same time. So I've just been locked in on Life Force farming, trying to get, like I said, 1.5 to 2 million dust per hour. All right, now I want to hit on a trio of Scarabs that I think you can play around with in exchange for the 4th Anarchy Scarab if you want to try increasing the difficulty a little bit, but maybe increasing the reward as well. So I think the hardest one, the most dangerous one, is the Titanic Scarab. If you're running all the map mod effect in the tree like I am, and you're running Corrupted 8 mod maps, you're going to be getting around 75 to 80% pack size, roughly, in a tier 16. And that means that this Scarab is going to give 75 to 80% rarity and quantity to the unique monsters, to the Rogue Exiles, which is going to significantly increase the amount of stuff that they're dropping. It's going to make them just like drop a lot more dust at a time. And I've had some maps where I was playing around with this and I would kill a Rogue Exile and get like 35,000 dust from one guy, which is pretty good. But it also gives them 75% toughness and damage. So 75% increased toughness means it's going to take like, I think 3 or 4 times longer to kill them. So, that is pretty significant, especially if you're combining it with Rogue Trader. I mean, this is ultimately why I spec'd out of this. I didn't feel like this was really worth the extra time spent and difficulty spent, and I feel the same way about Titanic Scarab. I like the idea. If you really do like 50 million DPS or something, maybe you can play around with it, but otherwise I would not. I did also try Titanic Scarab of Treasures. I think the issue with this is really the same issue that I had with Rogue Trader. It's that the rewards, quote unquote additional reward, is not translating into stuff that turns into Thaumaturgic Dust. So I didn't feel like this actually added anything other than difficulty. And then, I mean, I got some valuable stuff. I got some like Legion Incubators again, that kind of thing, random div cards that were like, that's cool, but it is a Thaumaturgic Dust. So I wasn't a huge fan of the treasures. I think that Scarab's probably the least valuable of the 3. And then Titanic Scarab of Legend, I played around with this while using Headhunter. Obviously, you're getting way fewer Headhunter buffs than you would with like the Beyond and Domination Scarab of Evolution strategy that we put out on Friday last week. Like that strategy, you're killing hundreds of rares, you're pulling like dozens and dozens of modifiers in. This one, every time you kill one of these Rogue Exiles, you get 2 additional monster mods that you could steal with Headhunter, so pretty fun. It does translate into them having more quantity and rarity, and it also applies to the map boss, which is fine. But I felt like this was basically, the Titanic Scarab of Legend is basically just like a kind of the junior or diet version of the full flavor Titanic Scarab, right? Diet Coke to, full strength Coca-Cola. So I think ultimately what I would recommend for Scarabs is like partnership and then 4 anarchies. But if you want to play around, you could try throwing in a legend or full flavor, full fat Titanic Scarab and kind of see how it goes. And finally, just to wrap up on the like Atlas passives, I have put a link to that at the bottom of the spreadsheet, just like I have been with everything else. I just added it right now. So, if you're looking at the spreadsheet, you might see this before the video's live, but this will be live in a few hours. You got all the information there, not really a lot else going on. So in terms of what you actually do, it's kind of the same as usual. I've really been trying to get into very, very simplified map farming strategies, just kind of taking advantage of what I like most about PoE 1, the ability to just completely shut your mind off and just kill, and that's what we're doing here, right? You choose a map you like. I still think Mesa is like pretty goated. Dunes is also a great option though. If you put a good div card, scry a good div card onto it, and there you go. You just pick one of those maps, absolutely blast it as hard as you can. I like to boss rush at the start. This will give you the ability to get quantity and rarity. Those I think are the 2 best player mods that you're going to want to go after from the Eldritch Altar modifier options. Currency duplication, Scarab duplication, I think in particular is going to be good. But really, quantity and rarity are going to be the most valuable because they will multiply the amount of things that, like, quantity will multiply the amount of drops that the Rogue Exiles have, and rarity is going to make them be higher rarity and thus much more valuable in terms of dust. So this is one strategy where rarity from the Eldritch Altars is actually going to be pretty good, whereas in most of the other strategies I found it was kind of a mid, even kind of bad option. In this case, I think it's really quite good. All right, I also just wanted to add this. I am running around like 110% rarity on my character. I'm using like rarity as a flask suffix, handful of rarity prefixes and suffixes on my gear. That's it, good to have if you have it, not necessary if you don't. Otherwise, monster mods, currency, div cards, those are always going to be good. I will just say I got a div card altar that caused the monsters to drop div cards that grant other div cards, and I got 2 the Immortal cards from a single map. That's the div card that eventually turns into Hall of Mirrors. So I don't remember what those are worth. I think they're like a double-digit number of divines. So, you know, keep your eyes open for that. It's definitely a good option. Div card, yeah, monsters drop div cards that grant other div cards is kind of a sleeper, really good option. Yeah, I made like 22 divines in a single map off of that. Pretty good. All right, so that's it. Super simple strategy, right? You're just going to be printing absolute like mountains of thaumaturgic dust. You're going to put Rog out of a job. This has been a real change of pace for me. I've always hated Anarchy. Again, kind of like Beyond, it's just another mechanic that's on my list of strong dislikes. And I think working on this strategy might have changed my mind. I farmed 4.5 million dust yesterday watching a couple episodes of the X-Files. I had a great time. Mulder and Scully almost solved the case with some aliens or whatever. Oh, maybe next time. And once again, I think if you really wanted to push this strategy to the absolute maximum, adding in some delirium orbs would really do the trick. All right, that's it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and join the Skipping Sleep Studio Discord and say hello to me and Sunset if you haven't already. And finally, thank you to all of our channel members. If you want to support us so we can keep making more PoE content, become a channel member as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.